Everybody, what's going on? I am Jamie Dawn, your professional psychic advisor, success coach, and revolutionary astrologer, bringing you your celestial wisdom video for the week of January 24th through the 30th of 2021. As you can see, I have a little bit of a different background. I actually am with family, but I certainly wanted to continue to bring you information that I think is really important. We have another big week. I mentioned this at the beginning of the month that January is one of the biggest months of this year. And I would say because we have so much energy jam packed into 28, 30 days, that sort of thing. And as we know, there's a lot of things that are continuing to work us to continue to build and release and then build and release. You know, we've had Mars in Taurus since January 6th, giving us some relief after it was in Aries for 6 months. That was a long time to have such intense energy. And now I sense that we're feeling a little bit more optimistic and hopeful that the future gives us something different. We're ready for different, and we've been ready for different. And I will also say that this week in particular, I'm going to highlight the full moon in Leo. You notice that I am not doing a new and full moon videos separate from the celestial wisdoms for now. And that's simply because of there's so much to talk about that fall on the new and the full moon. And I'm going to get into that as we go through this week's energy. So here we are leading up to Thursday, which is the full moon in Leo. Now, we start out the week with a mutable T-square, and it's with the nodes of the moon. And the reason I want to point this out, we have the North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius, and it is going, they're opposing each other as they always do, and they're squaring off with Neptune. And then Mercury is also in shadow because it turns retrograde at the end of the week. So you see, we have this really powerful energy leading us up to the full moon at the end of the week and Mercury going retrograde, which happens every year. I mean, it happens 3 times a year. And, you know me, if you've been watching and following, I'm not the doom and gloom around Mercury retrogrades, but there are definitely trickster afoot when Mercury is in this foggy, sort of sleepy, not everything as it appears to be. And that's what this mutable T-square is setting us up for, is that with Neptune, the planet of illusion, delusion, deception, but also this imaginative realm, when there's this square or tension going on, we may be willing to kind of rip off the rose-colored glasses of anything that was maybe we mentally prepared ourselves, or we had this idea of what a relationship or what a financial situation or what our job, maybe there was somebody, a coworker, a boss, whatever it might be, that regardless of our situation, there may be one area of our life that we had these sort of, it's not as bad as it appears, or I can keep making excuses for myself or for this particular situation. And I would say that as we start out the week, some conflicting messages are showing up, and it's causing us to have to face the reality, because we've got the sun and Saturn canoodling, and then we also have the sun canoodling with Jupiter at the full moon. And so we have this heavy dose of reality that is staring us right in the face and saying, hey, what are you really communicating to yourself and to others by staying in that relationship, by giving excuses as to why you haven't done what you need to do, and being responsible with Saturn being here? You know, we're being forced to take responsibility for our choices, take responsibility for the actions that we have taken. And that's not always a comfortable place to be, but it can be very empowering, because once we can speak truth and own the truth, we can then continue to shape the next steps ahead. We have Monday. So, right after, as we feel this T square of the nodes, we're also going to be looking at the sun squaring off with Uranus. And there's this need for a healthy outlet for this independent spirit that we have. So once we've spoken this truth, and we're able to really continue to create this reality, because we can't say we want a new reality if we're still doing the same things we've always done. And so here's this square. So another dynamic tension that's showing up: growth. Consider squares to be very the ability to grow. Like, I always think of going to the gym, and you're pushing that heavy weight and you're breaking down the muscle, and then the recovery comes where the growth happens. But in the middle of that process, we've got the tension in order to build these new muscles. And so, with the sun squaring off with Uranus, anything goes. I mean, it's one of those things where you just don't know how it's going to show up. And the sun is in Aquarius, which Uranus rules Aquarius. So there's all this energy and tension around the Aquarian theme, which is equality. It is about these higher ideals that we want to put into a manifested form. And we're working with fixed signs as well, with Aquarius and Taurus. So it's possible that there's a battle going on that needs to be hammered out. But because we may be looking, hopefully, in a future minded way, that we can come to some sort of agreement that isn't so individualistic as much as it's a benefit or an expression for the entire whole. We may feel as though we have to meet this conflict, let off the steam, then move on. I often think about individuals who have a tendency to get all worked up, right, around different peoples and attitudes and things like that. And then they do the little brawl, or they throw a punch. And I'm not necessarily endorsing violence, but it's like they just let off this steam, and then they're like, shake hands, and it's like, all right, respect, I gotcha, we're good now. Right. And it's like, so you need a healthy place to let off this steam. So just notice when you are feeling the tension, if it's a crying, if it's going for a walk, if it's kickboxing, if it's talking with a therapist or a friend or whatever. This is finding a healthy outlet. Maybe it's creating art, whatever it might be. We may have this great need to embrace the change and then move on. I will also offer that we most likely will continue to feel a bit of rebellion. And, you can't really dismiss what's happening in this country, in the United States, with, we had the inauguration, we have a new presidency, but we also have a lot of people that were not happy about this. Clearly, we had the riots. I feel riots may continue. I sense that there's going to continue to be quite a bit of tension from hotheads. And it's because there's this great desire for change, but also the rebellion of not wanting to be controlled. And I believe that that also is creating a lot of issues for those who are feeling lied to. And let's be honest, that is part of what I believe this week's energy is going to continue to stir the pot. There's a lot of people who feel they've been lied to. And when we feel like we've been lied to, we feel betrayed. Trust is broken. We feel very ungrounded and destabilized. And it's going to be important that we continue to come back to center. And how do you restabilize in the middle of this kind of feeling? And that is, getting grounded, coming back to the present moment, speaking truth. That's why I would say the truth will set you free. And the truth changes over time as well, based on situations and value systems and things like that. So if I can continue to encourage us all, let's not get caught up in the minutia. Let's not get caught up in the moment where we think that's all there is, and there's this tunnel vision. I would venture to say that in particular, Sunday, Monday of this week, we're probably going to be really focused on one particular area, just because it's our emotional state is going to be super triggered. And we do know that when emotions are involved, eh, people have a tendency to live by emotions, especially right now in this society. We have gotten so far into this place of letting our emotions drive our actions. And I'm not dismissing the emotions. They're important as far as they're what makes us human. They allow us to have instinct and translate that instinct. But what we have to be careful of is that we give too much power to them. And so also we're going to have the moon on Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday in Cancer, which wants this emotional security. And as Mars continues to feel the pressure from its square with Jupiter, that may motivate us. That may create enough of this tension point or this emotional need to have security. And when we are feeling insecure, I don't know anybody who hasn't experienced insecurity, whether it's in a relationship or it's in your finances or it's at work, wondering if you're going to keep your job or not. I mean, all these sorts of things. What often happens is it causes us to get either obsessed or freak out, say things, do things. We start panicking. And I would sense that that may be some energy that we're dealing with at the beginning of the week. So let's keep talking about the rest of this week, because this is a generalized energy theme, but it's going to become personal because there's always something in our life, one area in particular that gets highlighted. And as we lead up to a full moon, the energy is building in order to be released. Now, here's the thing about this full moon. It's on Thursday, January 28th. This is a big day. So the full moon is going to be in Leo at 9 degrees, which means it's going to be standing across the sun, across the sky, looking at the sun, which is also going to be at 9 degrees. As we know, the number 9, it has the quality of letting go, the end of the cycle. It also carries this great humanitarian vibe. And with Leo, we're looking at the individualized self in expression to the collective or the humanitarian nature. And so we're going to be really feeling this personal energy. And how do I show up? How do I express? How do I, Leo rules the heart. And so, how do I be the king or queen of my heart, of my life? And then, how do I take this agenda or this uh, thing that I'm wanting to express and make it to be of benefit to myself and others? The other thing, so let's set up this full moon. We've got not only, of course, the moon and the sun lining up across the sky from each other, but we're going to have Venus, our planet of love and beauty, harmony, relationships, values, art, all of these things, canoodling with our powerhouse Pluto. And let's not dismiss the power of Pluto, because it is, as I've mentioned before, sort of like the rotor-rooter that goes underneath things and really digs stuff up, and it just brings it to the surface. What Pluto affects us a lot more is psychologically, and it's a lot of the hidden habits or patterns or the things that we don't even know about that come up to the surface. And with Venus canoodling here, and Pluto has been in Capricorn for many years and will continue for another couple of years. But with Venus now canoodling with Pluto, what she may attract is going to bring up maybe what one of my teachers, Charlie Morley, has labeled the golden shadow. Pluto deals with the shadow or the hidden, the subconscious. And so the golden shadow are these hidden gifts that maybe we didn't even know we had. Maybe there's some hidden resources that we finally get to attract and tap into, because Venus is an attractor and a harmonizer. And Venus can also have a shadow side of jealousy. So it's possible that as you tap into these golden shadows, these hidden gifts and skills that you didn't even know you had, that and resources, because we're dealing with Capricorn, that you could run into other people being jealous of, oh my God, why does he or she do this so well? And how did they get the big break and all that? I would love, because we are in this Aquarian energy, that everybody benefits from this. Now, the word benefit is a great word also for this full moon, because we have one of what's considered one of the luckiest days of the year, as the sun and Jupiter are canoodling. So here we have Venus and Jupiter are wonderful benefics, are big, big benefics that are canoodling with the sun, our ego, our sense of purpose, our inspiration. It's what inspires us to be alive. It's what gives us our vitality and our energy. And Jupiter being right there kissing and cuddling with the sun is going to expand that much more. And then, as I mentioned, Venus and Pluto canoodling as well. Oh my God. I mean, there's just some bigness here. And let me just also point out, Thursday is considered Jupiter's day. It's Thor day, if you will. And so consider the mythology around Zeus, Jupiter, Thor, the god of thunder, and so here we have this extra blessing that shows up. Now, of course, the shadow side of Jupiter is, and the sun is, we've got maybe an over extravagance or a too large of an ego, where our ego starts to take over and we start getting pretentious or self-righteous, and it certainly can bring out the teacher, but it can also bring out the preacher if we're not careful in that. And those of us who enjoy preachers, great, but there can also be that sense of where we give our power away and we put somebody in authority and we stop thinking for ourselves. And we've done a lot of work over the last several years of coming back to our own inner wisdom. Who am I really? What do I believe? And does my belief line up with my heart? Does my belief line up with my values? And just because I believe something doesn't mean I need to go out and convert everybody to believe my way. So we have to be careful, because here we are with, remember those nodes that I mentioned at the beginning of the week, that South Node in Sagittarius is teaching us to let go of this my way or the highway, the belief system that we've been shoving down somebody's throat. And so opening our mind and expanding and being the student and staying really grounded and purposeful while we're learning new ideas and we're sharing them. And so Thursday's full moon could have us really coming back to the table and working through some issues and finding solutions, because it's like, well, how can I think of this differently? Let's brainstorm together. The other thing that I will say on a personal note, so we have Venus and Pluto canoodling, as I mentioned, the power of attraction, seduction, that feminine energy is going to be highly active and highly activated. And we may be breaking more cycles of abuse. The last time that Venus and Pluto canoodled, we had a lot of women coming forward and breaking the abuse of some of the patriarchal energy, the Me Too movement, all of the Jeffrey Epstein revelations, and all of these things. I would venture to say that will probably have similar themes. Maybe some other women of power are going to step up and speak up and offer more of this energy. And it's not just female, it's not gender biased, but we may find that there's a lot more of us as women speaking up against or speaking out for. I usually like saying, instead of powering against something, we stand up in our power and we stand up with our values. And I would venture to say that that's what also may come out of this full moon day. And we can break these cycles of abuse and attract the money, the love, the resources, the things we value in very powerful ways. It is also a great day, a great week to take ourselves a little more seriously than we normally do. I don't mean that we get so serious that we don't do anything and we get that judgmental thing going, right? But it is a great day to honor everything that we've been through, all this hard work we've done, and get our sexy on. If you are single and you're wanting to attract someone, this is a great day to do it, especially because you can get right in that heart center, open it wide, and who doesn't love to sit in that beautiful heart space? Also, if you're coupled, this is a great day for you two to find this optimism of the bond that you share and to be able to put some future plans in place. Jupiter is very future minded. And because it's in Aquarius, which is also the great visionary, it can expand your hope and optimism here with the sun to say, we could go anywhere. Where do we want to go? And Mars being in Taurus can allow you to continue to put those plans in place. Granted, there's the square that we're still feeling with Saturn, Jupiter, Sun, all squaring off with Mars. And yes, these are considered, Saturn and Mars are considered malefics. I don't consider them evil by any means. It just means that in my mind, I see it as we just may have to work a little bit harder to accomplish the things we want to accomplish and to stay with the conversation or stay with the openness, asking really good, powerful questions. It's not finding the answers, it's knowing which question to ask. And if we stay with it, then we may be able to tackle a lot of things that we couldn't in the past. Now, we also may be looking at intimate relationships, as these are going to be highly active. And like I mentioned, who and what is in alignment with the heart space. I don't know how many of you are watching this that you really understand what I mean by the heart space. The heart does not have present personality solely there, meaning the ego is in a higher vibration in the heart space. We move into a place where we truly can be in a unity space, and that it's not about just my agenda. It's about me being an individual expression of a collective agenda. How do I keep the vision of where we're all trying to go at the forefront of my decisions? So if I'm presenting an idea and I say, hey, why don't we do this? And I'm met with resistance, instead of taking it personally as if there's something wrong with me, I can step back and say, okay, how does that line up with where we're trying to ultimately go? It may also be that in your intimate relationships that you're working through sharing the spotlight with someone or something else. And I'm not talking about cheating and third parties and all of that. But what I am talking about is that instead of it being just about you or just about me, it's we may be working with, okay, how can we bring in this person for that role? Or how can we bring in that resource that can help us accomplish the bigger things that we're trying to do? And so instead of it being, oh, I have to do it all, we move into a place of team. We move into a place of group collectiveness. And we say, yeah, I mean, on my own, I'm pretty good. Collectively, I'm even better. So a lot of things can start to come to the surface, and we can truly be in love with all things. And I'm not talking about the in love that happens when we fall in love with the person and all that. This is the impersonal love that says you are me and I am you, and if you are successful, I'm successful. If you are happy, I'm happy. And so we continue to energize this with this full moon, that the heart leads the way. and we are able to release or let go of anything that seems out of alignment with our values, with our truth. This is a great time to look at the seeds that you may have planted back on the new moon on the 12th, 13th, depending on where you're at in the world of January, and see what little sprouts or shoots are coming up now. Maybe there's fruit falling off your trees, you know? And so, what do you do when you have this? Manifestation, you share it. It's a great time to be able to enjoy it and also share it. And of course, we are working with releasing. So if there is anything that keeps pulling at you, that takes you out of your heart center back down to only the ego. I'm not saying ego is bad. If we don't have ego, we don't have form. But if we are only manifesting or trying to manifest through the ego, what do we know about form? It's constantly breaking down, getting older, doesn't serve, whatever. That's where some of the abuse comes in. So if we can keep moving the energy back up into the heart, letting go of the things that are no longer uh, keeping us in that heart space, then we can continue to become the individual, creative, beautiful. I think of Leo, right? We know the lion, that mane, right? And how regal and how powerful that image is. That if we can stay in that heart space, we really can move mountains. And I would also say that this full moon may trigger us looking at, where am I loyal? Where am I faithful? Where am I persistent in a positive way? And if I'm not doing that, or if somebody else is not loyal, if there's betrayal, it's time to address those issues. And I'm not saying that we have to throw out everybody when I say release or let go, but there may be a couple of people, many of us, who have to let go of a situation that is keeping us out of alignment, but also that we have found there's disloyalty, there's betrayal, and trust has been broken. And if that's the case, be very gentle. How can you handle that kind of thing through the heart space? I know this is a long video. Stay with me. I've got one more piece, but I will keep talking through it because we've got 3.5 weeks of Mercury retrograde. And Mercury is stationing and going retrograde as well right at this time. And so here we are moving into the weekend with our planet that rules communication, how we process information, how we share information, transportation, moving retrograde. And of course, again, Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year. It isn't really a big deal unless we make it a big deal. So, what I would say is, as we feel this slowing down or this internal dialogue that starts to play out in our minds, we may be revisiting personalities, situations. We may be revisiting our finances. We may be revisiting how we move information about. I would say that this is a really good time to back up your computer, get your warranties. Also, if you do have to deal with, say, travel or anything like that, it's going to be good to leave some space and to keep a sense of humor. Go with the flow. Double check your communication pieces. So if you think you're texting somebody or emailing somebody and it's probably not the best thing to say, you probably shouldn't say it, or you better double check who you're sending it to. Get that second set of eyes as well. That's going to be really important. If you can, create some spaciousness in between your communications. My rule of thumb, which I love, is, that's interesting, let me get back to you. So create that spaciousness for yourself. It's going to be really crucial during this particular Mercury retrograde. All right, you guys, I hope that this video has helped you and that you know how much I love connecting with you, and I want to be here. Find me at jamiedawn.com. When to listen, I'm so happy to just sit with you. All right, you guys, have such a good week. Let me know how it's going for you. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Take care.